Hi, welcome to the conversation. In 2014, the All Progressive Congress went around the breadth and length of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They campaigned on the change mantra, saying that Nigeria deserves a change. And in 2015, they were rewarded and they were elected to the leadership of the government at the center. 4 years into the administration of the All Progressive Congress, Nigerians began to say that the All Progressive Congress is the same thing as the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. And in 2019, during the general elections, prominent Nigerians, influencers, and political opinion shapers all campaigned and started saying Nigerians should not vote the PDP because the PDP and the APC, they are one and the same party. So today, we're going to illustrate to understand, is the APC the same as the PDP? Can we say as a political party or as that the APC is equal to the PDP? With me to discuss this today, it's Tunde Rufai and Obinangri. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Mark.
So the very first question I'll ask is, Tunde, is the APC the same as the PDP?
Oh, thank you, Mark. If we want to go by probably the name, we would say that, okay, there is a difference in terms of, how the political parties are called. But if you ask me, PDP, or should I say APC, is just another extension of PDP. And I'll explain this way. And I am not, now that, people are actually clamoring or people are calling for a change, so to say, because a lot of Nigerians actually feel that they've been robbed. And I explain it this way, that there is no any significant difference between both parties. If you look at it, like the crops of folks, except for probably the President Muhammadu Buhari and Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, that they have been in their individual CPC and ACN, then before the merger and the formation of APC, a large number of people who are in APC today came from the PDP. And you cannot change the skin of a leopard. The black dots on a leopard, you cannot change it. It's natural. So most of people in APC today, their natural habitat, their philosophy, their thinking is from PDP. So the only difference you see is the name of the party that they call. But in terms of philosophy, if there is one, they are the same. In terms of, if you look at what PDP did when they were in government and what APC has done so far in terms of policy formulation, policy development, and the impact of governance. I do say it this way now, that when PDP was in the mantle of leadership of this country, Nigeria, and now that APC is there, the only difference that people could actually talk about is the change of name. But the lives of Nigerians haven't changed in any way. The progress that Nigeria are yearning for has not come in any way. So it's just like out of the, you move from a bad situation to a worse situation.
Okay. Obina, do you agree that APC is the same as PDP?
Really, I think Tunde actually hit the nail on the head. If you consider the fact that Nigerians are still crying out for a leader who can lead them to the promised land. In terms of the so-called change mantra, which was sold to them in 2015, and today we can as well as say that Nigerians are struggling. Nigerians are struggling. The standard of living has dipped. You can tell that the situation in the country, the crime rate, and as well as several other topics when you talk about even religious and ethnic crisis. Talking about PDP and APC, it seems to be, to me, I'll say it's like a man who wears a white cloth in the morning and then comes out in the evening to wear a black cloth, but it's still the same person, just
Okay,
wearing
but
two different outfits.
so what can we really see? Okay, so let's look at it this way now. So I think if you look at it on the surface, it's easy to say that the PDP is the same as the APC. Well, let's look at how these both parties were formed. Recall that the PDP was formed in 1998, and when they were at the point of their formation, their work was to take over governance from the military. And don't forget that taking over the governance from the military meant that they were to ensure that the military does not come back. 2014, look at how the APC was formed. The APC was formed as a special purpose vehicle just to gain power. And if you look at how both parties have been run over time, from 2014 till this time, and show how PDP have been run as a party from 98 till this point in time. So can't you see any kind of difference that the PDP looks more nationalistic in its approach? And even as an opposition party, the PDP have continued to play a national politics in. Okay, let me rephrase it this way. In 2014, during the campaign, the APC ran a politics or a campaign of a very harsh campaign where they were willing to let the nation burn. But PDP as an opposition party have not done the same. PDP seem to be more cautious because they tend to be more nationalistic in approach. So if you look at the way both parties have run, beyond the fact that some persons move from the PDP to the APC and some persons from the APC move to the PDP, in terms of philosophy, don't you see any difference in their philosophy, Tunde?
To be honest with you, I don't. In fact, I'm going to ask that what's the fundamental philosophy of APC, if there is any? What's the fundamental philosophy that all members of, that philosophy or principle that is actually, should I say, cardinal?
Just a button. You recall that Nigeria became the biggest economy in Africa under the rule of the PDP. And also, if you look at both parties, APC seem more socialist in nature, PDP seem more capitalist in nature. So if you look at Nigeria's economy grew, and the middle class in Nigeria from 2002 to like 2011, there was this huge leap within the middle class. That's where you started seeing a lot of young millionaires coming up, even though some people called it corruption, that corruption was promoting the growth, which in my own opinion, I think may be subject to review right now. Can't you see that PDP seem to be more capitalist in nature, while the APC in terms of philosophy seem to be more socialist? All they do is roll out socialist programs. What do you think?
Well, for me, I do not really think so because a socialist approach or a socialist driven party would always want to run run the economy and the country from a socialist point of view, vis-a-vis a party that believes in capitalist economy as well. But talking about economic growth, you see, it's one thing for a country to grow numerically in terms of statistics. It's another thing for that growth to be inclusive. It's another thing for that growth to spread to the ordinary man on the street. McDonald, I'll tell you this, that the Nigerian on the street does not know about and doesn't care about economic growth. That economic growth will not make any sense to him or her if there is no improvement in his life, in the life of his family. And, if there is no hope for him, and, if you are making a gain, economic gain or development, you don't need to sell that so much. even people on the street will feel it without you telling them. They will see that turnaround. So coming back, to your statement, like, okay, that there's this economic growth, but that growth is not inclusive,
So
and there's no.
I can draw attention. I
So
can draw attention to the banking sector, the telecom sector.
okay,
Don't you think that Nigeria
so
made great improvement under the PDP?
yes, it's an improvement. There's no doubt about that. Of course, sure, that's definitely, I mean, a good stride, so to say. But we are talking about, you see, what makes a political party? It goes beyond the policies that party is actually rolling out. And I'll give you an example that political parties are rooted in philosophy and values. So they don't shift. Even if there's going to be a shift, that shift doesn't come overnight. And this is how it happens. The way we form political parties in Nigeria is quite different. Few people who are actually wealthy and they have the political wherewithal will come together, bring another 50, 20 people together. They sit down somewhere within 3 months, they come up with a constitution. And I tell you this, that a constitution, whether of a party or of a country, that it is not about how good the letters of that constitution is, but how that constitution or that document, comes into being. And that's why we have a fundamental problem, because, like Obi said, it's just like one man wearing two gowns, in a day. In terms of philosophy, in terms of policies and programs, in terms of economic outlook, in terms of preparation for the future, I do not see any difference.
Obi,
Job creation. Look,
just a quick one, Obi. Do you think pre 2015 and post 2015, don't you think there is a difference between the lifestyles of Nigerians in terms of financial, in terms of press freedom, in terms of the freedom of the people? Don't you think that there's a difference in terms of what Nigerians are experiencing right now and then what they had prior to 2015 when the APC took over government?
Uh, yeah, thank you for that question, Mark. Now, with regards to what Tunde was saying, I agree with what Tunde is saying from the angle of the common man in the street. The common man in the street will only be able to state that things are going right in the economy if he can earn his daily bread, and if his daily bread is consistent, right? And the truth about it is, for me, governance from a political perspective, two key things Tunde mentioned that I really like and I hold on to is values. Like, if we relate this now uh, to the American political environment, where you have the Democrats and the Republicans, for instance, you can see the events that took place around the U.S. Capitol building, where there was some calamity about to happen to which was going to sever the sovereignty of the United States. Right? You could see that at a point. What gives you that? What gives you that backing as a political party is when you rise to the party, even beyond your party, to align to what governs your nation. So, and that is where the values now align. Now, for the common man in Nigeria, between 2002 and 2015, I can say that things looked upbeat, things looked bright from the angle of sectors picking up post. Our highlight specifically post the recession in 2008. The banking sector picked up, as well as telecommunication and other sectors. Agriculture started thriving as well, because looking at the
Mhm.
population of Nigeria, 200 million people, you can tell that agriculture is a core sector for us. The nation must be fed, as well as several value chains can be built out of that sector, right? Now, if we track back a bit and we also look at post 2015, A lot of things have happened post 2015 that has really marred the economic balance of the nation, especially when you think about it from the perspective of the value of the currency, which has depreciated as against the world currency, the dollar. And then you also look at factors like selection of appointments, which has been restricted to a particular ethnic group within the country. And then you can also talk about even the defections across the political parties. So it seems as if our politicians are no more interested in the greater good of the nation. Rather, they are interested in the positioning themselves towards where power sits in the nation. And once that is the priority of our politicians, then we know that it almost seems like the citizens are left to fend for themselves, that these lawmakers are just there for their own benefits from the seat of power.
Okay, we'll just go on a short break. But before we go on the break, I just want to point out the fact this is what we will talk about when we resume from the break. What are the indices that we use in measuring both government? In terms of security, in terms of economy, in terms of press freedom, in terms of human freedom in the country? If we examine these things, can we actually say that both parties, in terms of governance, are the same, or are they just the same in terms of political participation? We'll be back with this after the timeout. Welcome back. So before the break, I was talking about what are the indices that we use to measure, because when you say both parties are the same, what are the indices for measurement? Are you measuring in terms of economy? Can you say in terms of economy that both are the same? In terms of security, can you say that both have lived up, as in, can you say the output have been the same? In terms of press freedom, can you also say that both have been the same? In terms of freedom of the Nigerian people, can you say that both have been the same? Just quickly, Rufai.
Yeah, okay. So now, if we're talking about this aspect that you just raised, now, of course, there are brazen differences.
That means there are
And I'll
differences.
take
They're
them.
not the same. They're not the
No,
same then.
initially when we were talking about the philosophy, the cardinal principle of a political party. On that ground, they are the same. Because if I ask PDP members today that what does that party stands for? Ask APC members that what is the fundamental philosophy of this party that actually adheres you to that party? They can't tell you anything. The only thing you will see that people will, in terms of philosophy,
they look like the same in
for
your
me,
estimation. But in terms of
yes,
governance, can you see that they are one and the same?
No, in terms of governance, in terms of economic management, in terms of prudence, anti-corruption, and security that you talked about, they are not the same. The 16 years of PDP, like they do say, of course, we witnessed some developments and growth, so to say. Before Jonathan left, Boko Haram was actually operating, or they have hosted their flags in 4 local governments in the Northeast. APC came, one of the cardinal promise of APC is to tackle insecurity situation in the country. Now, Nigeria is completely insecure, from banditry to terrorism to kidnapping. In fact, there's an extension of now the farmers' headers problem as well. So in terms of security architecture, in terms of security management, I would score APC low, because more Nigerians have died under APC compared to the PDP government.
So that
That's
means
number
that the
one.
APC, in your opinion, is
In my own
not the same
opinion,
as PDP.
no. In under APC, Nigeria is almost on every country's watch list. I have friends here, and two of them came to me that they will actually want to, go on a vacation, that they are thinking of going somewhere in Africa. My natural instinct would want to tell them that, oh, of course, go to Nigeria. But before I said that, Chris just told me that, he got an email notification from the Department of State that he shouldn't go to Nigeria. That Nigeria is not. I couldn't even say anything. Like,
So
he
who
said
do
he
you
was
think?
thinking
So
about
which
going.
party would you say
So
have performed better in terms of governance,
of
based on these
of of
indices?
definitely PDP. And again, our expectation is that a retired army general that understands security, that understands protection, that has this experience, would manage insecurity problem in Nigeria better. But no, people were. I'm not going to say we, because I knew initially that me personally, I'm not expecting any difference or any outstanding performance from President Buhari. I respect this person, but I feel that he lacks the well without. To lead takes more than not being corrupt. Okay,
Exactly.
that's one thing. Then again, in terms of economic management, the president doesn't. That's why you have good people. Even if you are not that good, you surround yourself with good people. I was listening to Pastor Tunde Bakari some days ago when he was being interviewed on like his Nigeria for Nigerians or movement that he's putting together, and he
Yeah.
talked about how they formed the APC. Now, that's number one. Then again, he's been to the president a couple of times that that things are not really working, but the same thing continues. You see, you can only change a man, but it is difficult for you to change the philosophy of a man. And that's exactly what I think is the problem of the president of Nigeria. Because for a president to say that democratic values are actually hampering him from the way he would really like to govern, tells you that he's used to the military style of governance. And that's wrong. Security, of course, I would definitely say, even Nigerians will tell you, when PDP was in power, people could still move freely in Lagos, in South, but now in Southeast, South, Northwest, every part of the country, nobody is safe. You cannot even close your eyes. So in terms of economy as well, I think the APC government has actually failed a lot of people. The president even said it not time ago that he doesn't want to live as a failure. What does that tell you?
So Tunde, just a minute. Let me bring in Obi. Obi, what do you think?
Actually, I think so. If I take it step by step, from a security perspective, just a quick analysis I want to give is, if we look at during the campaign for APC campaigned utilizing some of the weaknesses of the PDP government, like things that happened within Nigeria, especially talking about the kidnap of the Chibok girls, right, in 2014. And that was one of the major campaigns they used against the that was one of the major campaigns the APC used against the PDP. But when you think about it, the present day Nigeria has recorded a lot of banditry, kidnapping, killings across the nation. This is not even restricted to the Northeast alone, right? Even in the South, in the East, all parts of the country.
Yeah.
So we're at that state where the country is actually, it's almost like we're on that thin line between going from a Republican country to a nation in chaos, because you hear of people like Boko Haram taking over communities, the Nigerian army not even going against them, and in communities where people go after these so-called bandits, you then see the army coming to go against the owners of the community who have been either violated, had their people raped, or had their businesses or even farmlands ambushed with cows, and where their vegetations and crops have been killed, right? So you begin to ask yourself, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were to rate the security situation, I would give the APC 2/10.
So what
In
would you
all
have
honesty,
given the PDP?
the PDP, if I was to rate them on the basis of what I can see in the present day Nigeria, I would have given the PDP about a 5. I wouldn't have
What
given
about
them
in
a
Exactly.
terms
10
of
I was
except
I was I was gonna say
economy?
something.
What about in
yeah.
terms of economy? Why would you have graded them?
In terms of economy, I would have rated the PDP very high in terms of economy, because they were able to maintain foreign investors' confidence. The currency of the nation was still a bit relevant at the time. We still had investors who were willing to come into the Nigerian environment to invest. Currently, the naira is struggling. The stock exchange is just trying to pick up its pace. We are still a highly importing nation, not utilizing our population to even try to begin to produce commodities that we can export out there. When you think about it, that we gave countries like Malaysia their first palm kernel, you almost wonder. They are now one of the chief exporters of palm oil in the world, and Nigeria is struggling to even deal with natural resources they have. So from
Okay,
an
Obi,
economic,
We have just few minutes to go,
okay.
and just on the final thought, Tunde, what would you
Hmm.
be your final thought on this issue?
Yo, I was going to say this quickly. Before that or even other areas of our national life. Look at our external reserve when PDP was there and what is this today? It has gone up. Nigeria, keeps borrowing and borrowing for I would say that for a cost that is completely, worthless. But that tells you how the government of the day is thinking in terms of
Totally.
democratization and press freedom as well. I mean, you know what it is today. That if you call the president a name, the next day security agents will be at your door. Look at how people were actually treated like animals when Sunday Igbo was being hunted, so to say. That tells you the language, you know, of the government, so to say. In terms of press freedom as well, I think Nigeria has gone a little bit down. When it comes to press freedom, when it comes to freedom of Nigerian citizens to air their views and opinion without being harassed or being intimidated. So generally, for me, I would say that it's unfortunate that we have a government, but there's no governance in Nigeria as we speak. And we have leaders who are busy doing nothing. For the best of my own knowledge, Nigerian leaders, they are the most busy people in the world. And
Okay, gentlemen,
busy
we're
doing
out of
nothing.
time. We're out of time. This conversation is going to be ongoing because we cannot actually exhaust everything in one show. But I just think Nigerians need to ask themselves a very simple question. Prior to 2015, how was our lives? Post 2015, how are we faring? These are important questions, like Tunde pointed out and Obi pointed out, that when there's good governance, people need to feel it. It should not just be a paper stuff. It should not just be a data stuff. It should be what people feel in their everyday lives. The quality of your life. When you go to the market, what you're able to buy yesterday, can you buy it today? When you go for healthcare,
Exactly.
what you get, is it what you get it now? Those are the basic things that Nigerians should ask
Exactly.
themselves. So I think the answer to
If
these questions are personal, and I hopefully by next week or something we'll continue this conversation. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Thank you, Tunde. Thank you, Obi, and we hope
Thank
to
you
have
so
more
much.
conversations.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time. Yeah.
You're welcome.